Hey everybody, welcome to Damage Check, special ARG Nationals edition. I am, of course, the captain, Ryan the Doombringer Griffin, and joined with me are some very special guests. Let's start off with the people you know and love, and the person you're about to love. First up is Keith, the Irish God.
Hello everyone.
Andrew, the Sixth Ranger, master of the circus.
O2 drop, go to the circus.
O2 drop, go to the circus man himself. And our very special guest, Jason, living proof. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Fantastic. Well, as usual, we'll take a couple of minutes for some witty banter before we get things started here. If you're wondering where Jose is, he's dead because he didn't get to go to National. We banned him from this damage check.
Rest in peace, Jose.
Indeed. I took his deck and lost with it several times. Let's go.
Jose would have done better.
I don't know about all that. He's the O2 drop man himself. I'm going to continue to insult him throughout this damage check. He can't comment to stop me. This is his YouTube account.
Oh, goodness.
Keith, you're being accused of net decking. How do you respond to these allegations?
Oh, well, first of all, I would like to say that I didn't even think I was going to bring spikes to ARG NATS. And what happened was, what had happened was...
here we go.
Yeah. Is I hit up Tis for a case split of, or not a case split, a playset split of what was Indestructive Roar. And he was like, oh yeah, spikes look pretty cheap. I'll pick that up. And so I picked up spikes, thinking I was going to play it for standard. And as I was like going through and I was looking, I was going to play gears for nationals. And then I was looking on Proof's Discord and I saw that it was just like, yeah, I'm testing this standard deck that is just standard plus a G zone. I was like, well, I've got half of that already. And so I then looked at the prices for the G-Zone, and I was like, wow, this is going to cost me all of like $4.25. I can build this. And so sure enough, I did. And I was like, crits are pretty good in this game. And that's what I did. I went to Nationals with spikes.
You're welcome, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was all a joint effort.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's enough waiting around. So let's get this party started. And of course, we've already done the introductions. You all know this is the man who won ARG Nationals. Proof, show him the trophy real quick. Oh yes.
Oh,
you can
so shiny.
See it okay? I got the ceiling right here coming in my attic space. Trophy's tall.
There you go. There it is, people. And we'll tell more about that, all the matchups, all of the good data, what we saw in just a bit. But we have to start off with the spoiler reel, because it's what people want, and we can't ever get rid of this segment. So first up, let's talk about Black Sage Charon, Grade 1 Shadow Paladin Triple R. Yeah, this is the good that the Shadow Paladin players are getting. Auto Rearguard Circle.
This segment.
No. Auto Rearguard Circle, when placed due to the ability of your card, costs Soul Blast 1, Countercharge 1, and this unit gets power plus 3,000 until end of turn. Neat. This is your countercharge. Is it pretty
cool with Maka?
It is.
Yeah,
it's got your combo.
It looks like it's supposed to work with Maka, I guess.
That's what you usually called in old Vanguard, was cheering off of Maka.
8K to make 8K, 16 columns.
It was pretty good back then.
And now we have some tasty, bigger columns with all of the same impact. Don't even need Keith's opinion.
Still a one-card guard.
Let's get out of here. Mandala Lord, not covering that. We're not doing that. Let's talk about the VR. Let's talk about it's not a good card. Let's talk about the VR we got this week. Golden Beast Tamer. Yes, better cards indeed. Andrew, do you want to take this one away since you're the circus man?
All right, Golden Beast Tamer. Let me find it real quick.
I'll start you off. Continuous Vanguard Circle. During your turn, if you have 5 or more units, all of your front row units get power plus 3,000. Man, this is the card Maelstrom wishes it was.
Yes, it's free. It's 5 or more units. And then second skill, Vanguard Circle. Auto. When it attacks, cost Counterblast 1. Take a card from your hand, put it into your soul. Call up to 2 cards from your soul to Rearguard Circle.
Extra attacks and standard. Now, this is something new. Hello. Talk to me about this, Andrew.
Right. So I haven't done that much theory crafting to Pale Moon yet because we still haven't seen all the support. But yeah, so this is like, you're telling me that for CB1 and 1 card from hand to soul, you get 2 more attacks? Whereas Perfect Riser was CB2 for 2 more attacks? And Maelstrom was, you have to hit to get 1 more attack? Yeah, this is like the best parts of all those cards made cheaper. This is power creep. This feels like power creep right here.
Don't talk about power creep and standard, Andrew. That's not what we want. We want everything to be exactly the same across the board and equally boring, so then you can just play your favorite brand of boring. And here we are.
Excel has finally reached a tier where you can compete with like Force and Protect clans. Maybe. I don't know.
God willing.
We'll see.
The next evolution.
I think this really explains Maelstrom's pose from his card, which is just like, huh? Like this, because he's just looking at Golden Beast Tamer's effect. Like, how did that not happen to me?
Isn't this everything Maelstrom should be? Like, if you just talk to me. If you had, if Maelstrom said exactly this, but it was Maelstrom, and instead of call 2 cards from the soul, it was just restand 2 units. Are you happy with that card? Because I think I'd be pretty happy with that.
That'd be disgusting.
Yeah. I would quit standard.
Yeah,
that would actually be disgusting.
There'd be a lot of salty seamen in standard.
That disappoints me. They'd had to do it. You know, I had to do it too. And Bushiroad CEO says, "I know it's my favorite clan, but let's be real here. No one likes it when Aquaforce is dominant."
No,
that's true.
I'm still upset that Aquaforce took the bulk of GB13 from Spikes.
And you still came out on top.
True.
See, Proof, I'm glad you're here, because now we can see the salty Spike player perspective on it, Vanguard as a whole. Like, oh, are you happy with BT10? No, I'm not happy with BT10, even though it was the best thing we ever had.
BT10 gave me Mayhem Tiger. I was perfectly okay.
Ooh, spicy.
All right, spoiler reel is over. News time is now. Here's the news. There are no ban list updates. Hello? Yeah, ban list, August 14th. The death of Ichi-Tom that was heralded by the man on the pale horse. None of it happened. Surprise, religious people.
We were all theorizing that Bushiroad was specifically waiting till after the ARG Premium tournament because it's like the biggest premium tournament in the world, essentially. And they saw like, oh, there's no meta issues at all. No changes.
We're fine.
Gets stuck with bottleneck.meta. Can you beat Ichi-Tom? No, get out of here, kid. Come back later.
At least every clan has a represented deck in premium that's functional. Like every clan that has like premium support has a representative deck that is functional. And even some decks that don't have premium support have representative decks that are functional.
So Andrew, you're telling me that I should go out and pay $300+ to play a not viable deck? Is that what you're telling me?
It's not going to be $300 for much longer.
Yeah. We'll see about Aquaforce. I could go out and spend some money on Aquaforce with, of course, the Megiddo, which is making it the extra $100. And come in and just die to Ichi-Tom. Man, that sounds like fun to me. I can't wait.
Nah, you could outrush Ichi-Tom easy.
Yeah. You have Excel circles. You're fine.
Here's the man telling me, like, hey, can I build premium Maelstrom? And Andrew's like, no, lose to Ichi-Tom. And I'm like, well, thanks, Andrew. Crush my dreams. Why do I come to you anyway? No,
I do really love the idea of just like some Bushiroad intern that is like on their phone, like trying to watch ARG Nats with like Proof and the OTT Giza on the phone, and it's just like, get Katani on the phone. Everything's okay. Stop him now.
They look at the top 16 list. Why are there no more than 2 of any clan on here?
Yeah.
This must have been good meta. We did it. People popping bottles of champagne in Bushiroad, Japan. America loves us.
Yeah.
God.
All right. So let's talk about the man of the hour, the man of the year, Proof. Let's talk about ARG Nationals, because this was your tournament. You came out of the lab looking like a god. You popped out that hyperbolic time chamber looking like, I'm powered up, baby. This is my format. Let's go. Put me in the game. Get Piccolo out of here. No, it's my turn.
Put me in, coach.
Indeed. Put him in, coach. He's ready to carry this ball to the end zone. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Impressions going into the tournament. Starting off, you're bringing Spikes. Is that the only deck you own? First of all, I have to ask. Is that all you play?
That is all I play. It is all I've played since the tech booster came out for Vanguard G.
Okay. All right.
So that's like a good, year and a half, 2 years now?
Yeah, it came out, 2016, I believe?
Oh, yeah. That's been a while.
About 2 years ago.
Yeah, you got a little bit of history on you. So that's you would have played this regardless. You weren't thinking like it's either Spikes or don't go. It was, I'm going to come in and play Spikes and see how I do.
I'm playing the best version of Spikes that I thought was ready to tackle the premium meta. There was no other option.
And here you are, taking the whole cake for yourself. Just give me that nice money. I'm going to hold this. I'm going to hold this over here.
Let me take that check real quick.
That's right. I know that's right.
Hey, wait, do they give you a large check?
No, it's actually going to come in the mail sometime soon.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Yeah. He was like, don't worry about it. It's coming. It's coming.
We got you.
But, all right, but I know, I've looked in your Discord. I know what's going on in there. Talk to me about the lab. How do you prepare the best version of Spike Brothers for yourself? Perhaps not exactly knowing what you're going to face there. I don't know how much theory crafting you did of what other people were going to be playing. But talk to me about how you did your preparations for this.
So my preparation was basically, I knew the standard support was very good, and I knew that it would be very good coming into the premium side of things. So my baseline starting point was basically just taking the standard deck, swapping out a couple cards to make room for fodder, and then I just play 8 crit, 4 draw, and then see what happens next. And that was pretty good because the standard support works very well with Agrius, as I've talked about a lot of times before, just because you get free power on your Bracky, your Juggernaut, and then they get power when they're placed. So when you bind it with Agrius and call it back out, it gets power again. So you just keep smacking your opponent with this extra powered up Bunny and Juggernaut because of Force Circles. So that was where I started, and it felt pretty good. But I was always concerned about Picaro, which is the board refill stride that we have. So I was kind of like, we'll see what happens here. So then I started testing out Bad End from one of the people in my Discord, and I saw that Mecha Instructor was putting in so much work for him. I was like, let me incorporate this and see what happens. And I loved it because of what it made Picaro into a viable finishing option, because you could spit out a board for 2 counterblasts, and all of a sudden you can get 7 attacks on your opponent, which was enough to finish them off in most cases. So beyond that, I just tested it out and got a feel for it, and kind of just monitored what people were playing on CFA, because that's really the only spot to get information for premium, because Japan doesn't do much premium at the moment. So just kind of just watched games on CFA, tried to absorb as much knowledge as I could, and went into the tournament with what I felt was best. However, the night before the tournament, I'm sitting there in the hotel room just wallowing between 8 crit and not 8 crit, because I was so afraid of chaos showing up that I just didn't want to get locked out by control decks. And I slept on it, and then the morning of, I was like, nah, my gut says play Mecha Instructor. So I took out 3 of the crits, put in 3 Mecha Instructor, and then I just rolled with it. And it pretty much was kind of like the deciding factor in a lot of my games. So I'm definitely happy I packed it.
All right, it seemed like it really worked for you. I mean, that was about the only difference between the deck you played and the deck Keith played. Hello. Keith coming up as the proof disciple here, and checking out the Discord, saying like, Spikes seem pretty okay. I'll see what's going on over here. Keith, of course, played the 8 crit build. Still worked. Still made top 8. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's some good percentage here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. Proof, did you drop? You dropped 1 match, right?
Yeah, in Swiss, I lost to Kevin playing Bermuda Triangles. That was my only loss in Swiss.
Gotcha.
That deck was silly. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a super silly deck.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, with Bermuda being your, perhaps most feared opponent, I don't know how you felt about most of the other decks, but let's talk about your matchup. So you kind of walk us through briefly the tournament, what you ran into, if you remember, and how you felt about that matchup before swiftly 2-0ing the person.
I wish it was that easy. So round 1 was OTT Geese, the first time I had run into it. I heard rumblings of Geese decks before the tournament, and so I was like, okay, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to face down with that, and I didn't expect to run into Geese round 1. And that game was insane because it was a 45-minute round 1 game. And it went that long because Sarah, she kept attacking my rear guard, so the game just kept dragging, and I stayed at 0 until she burst me to 5 with Geese stuff. And I think I ended up winning because I had a double up force marker, and then I used my one Agrius turn. And thanks to Gyroslinger putting cards to the bottom, I'd stacked up 2 Gyroslinger usages through Agrius, and I pushed triggers up to the top, and then I broke through a 2 to pass, and I gave her 6 damage that way. So that was pretty clean. And then at the end of that round, we were mid-shuffle, and we just got the post-mulligan when time was called. So she chose turn order, made me go first, so I was turn 0. But since she's playing Geese, her trigger power doesn't matter. So I was very easily able to keep myself at 0 damage. I just rushed her down and gave her 3 damage real quick. And at the end of the 3 turns, I ended up winning. So I claimed that one 2-0. And that deck is scary, man. I am not looking forward to facing it again if I go to more premium tournaments. Because, like, even though I won the thing, the tournament, like, that deck is legit, and it's going to probably be making waves, and you're going to be seeing more and more of it.
Yeah, one thing we did not expect, and just for all the viewers out there, you can hit up Franz in the chat if you want to about his experience. But yeah, walking in and just seeing so much Gize, we were like, what? Like, towards the end of set 14, you know, we were playing what we thought were the best decks, and then Gize just kind of sat in like the 4th to 5th to, you know, in certainly a strong deck, but it was nothing then like it is now with the standard support. We were taken off guard, most of us, to like see, like, you know, when you run into a Gize on CFA, you're like, oh cool, the Gize player, let's see how this goes. When you run into him at Nationals, you're like, oh no, why did they decide that this was the best idea? And
I'm not ready for this.
So scary.
And it's so consistent because they have what, 6 grade 1s that can stack the deck. They have 4 to 6 grade 2s that can stack the deck, and then both of their grade 3s can stack the deck, and then they have
Strides can actually just stack the deck.
Right. So Waka Hirome, or whatever her name is, Waka, just is the most disgusting stride next to Ichikashima. Like, just casually draw a card, put a heal on top, check the heal because you're always going to be behind on damage because you're a Geese player. Like, I hated that card. I hated when it came down.
I swear I've never seen so many heals in the history of Vanguard than at this tournament. Like, every time it was just like, look at all these heals I checked. Why did I check them? Because I'm Gize, I guess. Gods get God powers, I guess.
So after Gize, and I shook that off, I was hoping never to run into it again. And then round 2 was against Kaguro, which is one of the matchups I expected to see. And that ended up being 2-1 because the first round I just beat him over the head with Agrius and early aggression stuff. Because the way they tailor the deck in premium at the moment, their only form of early retire is through new Berserk Dragon. So if they don't have new Berserk Dragon and you rush them down, then you kind of get ahead on the board that way. And or if they play the Destiny, which is 50-50 from the people that played in the tournament. And if you just beat them down with Agrius over time and they don't have the G-Gar for Denial Griffin, then you just out-tempo them really quickly. Game 2, I got bopped over the head by Overlord restanding, so that was not that was pretty much a non-game. And then game 3 was kind of a repeat of the first game, to where Agrius just doing Agrius things and early aggression paying off. So I got that one 2-1. So it was kind of nice to beat it because Kaguro's always been like a what's the term? A ghost for spikes, just because a lot of our sequences just died in the hands of Denial Griffin. So it's kind of nice to be able to play around it fairly effectively and still come out on top.
All right, so you're going into round 3, a couple clutch wins in the bag, feeling good about yourself. What do you see round 3?
OTT Geese.
Oh no!
There's like 5 of them, I swear.
I pretty much just ran the top 16 gambit, trying to make it to top 16, because I played against Michael, who I faced in the finals in round 3, and I can't remember how the first game went. I don't know how I won that game. I don't remember it. But the second game, I won it off the heels of a double force circle with Hellheart 8. So I just kind of just got the feel a little bit for that particular matchup, seeing what Hellheart 8 could do with the force markers. So that was pretty neat. I I was still just shaken by running the OTT Geese again, because it was my first time. This tournament was my first time running into it, so you kind of have to learn as you go and try and like see what the cards do in the context of the deck. So it's like, this is so unfamiliar. I wasn't ready for this, so I'm gonna just lose off of unfamiliarity, which is what spikes usually do, because nobody knows what spikes do, so you can just take advantage of their lack of knowledge. It's weird being on the opposite side of that, so I kind of had to learn as I go.
I think we had very similar experiences. I actually had to get the matchup data in the middle of the tournament to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do? How do I play against this?
It's such a hard matchup, because if you rush them down and they hit the triggers, you get high rolled, then you just lose because they can go to Gi super early. Or you can play the slow game, but that kind of hinders or hinges on the fact that your late game needs to be so impressively powerful to hit over Gis once they get there, which not all decks can do. So you kind of just sitting in that weird middle ground of, what do I do? You can't not give them damage, or you're going to lose that way. And not a lot of decks can stall them out to make them deck out. So you kind of just have to play the game as it goes. It's kind of like the most fluid matchup, I want to say, in that you have like an idea, but your plan like evolves as the game evolves. So it's tough to navigate. I don't want to say fun, because I didn't particularly enjoy it every time, but it's interesting. It's kind of cool trying to learn how to navigate through a tougher matchup.
All right. Yeah, we definitely had similar experiences to you there. Just like, this is the weirdest deck I've ever played against. What do I do? There's not that feeling of utter helplessness until you realize it. Oh my God, there's just nothing I can do. Unlike the previous dominant deck, which was 7 Cs, and we're just like, well, oh boy, this is going to be exciting. I'm going to have a real fun game of Vanguard.
That was an awful time, because there was no non-G deck that Spikes could play, so you kind of just took it on the chin and lost 2-0 and walked away. Sad.
Let's get back to the tournament that you won. So round 4, you've taken 2 matches off of OTT Gize. First time you run into it. Mm-hmm. And is this where you run into Kevin? Or do you run into him later?
I ran into him the next round. Oh, no, that was Keith next round. Round 4 is against Royals, against Blaster variant. Of course, there was Blaster variant. What am I talking about? It played Bartgul as their starter. That's what I meant to say. And it was weird, because I went second, so I got to see what his deck could do with the Bartguls, and I was able to overcome the early pressure he tried to put on me, because with Bartgul, he got the free calls, and then he rides Blaster Blade, calls 1 card. Now Blaster Blade has a crit, so you have to worry about that on top of any other rear guard pressure they might have. But that also eats away at their hand, surprisingly, more than you would think. And he would go into grade 3, do the Tarna stuff, take cards out of his hand, but I would keep putting on the pressure to where his hand was already low, go into Agrius and take advantage of his low hand and hit him with 5 high-powered attacks. So it would just deplete their whole hand out, and then all I had to do was survive Gancelot, which I was able to do, and then I ended up taking game 1. And game 2 pretty much went the exact same way, because he went first again, except in this round, he didn't have the Bartgul stuff going on. He had to use Bartgul to actually get to Blaster Blade, because he wanted to ride Alfred early first to get the superior call and the draw off of it. So if he whiffed on that, missed on the pressure, so now his early game is that much less impressive. So you just keep beating him over the head with the spike stuff being incredible, because Spike Bouncer called Bracky. Bracky's now 20k, just keep putting the pressure on him, and then Agrius claims another victim that way. So I took that one 2-0 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which was
all right. It seems like Royals is a pretty consistently solid matchup for Spikes. Keith was telling me that he queued into Royals multiple times and just like bop them.
Yeah, because you have a lot of counter-offensive in the Spikes stuff now, in that Spike Bouncer gives you a free call, and then Bracky or Juggernaut or Panther all get power very easily to be able to take out their rear guard calls if you want to focus on that, or if you want to just keep putting on pressure and reduce their hand size down. You have easy ways to do that without overcommitting yourself. And if they're crazy enough to give you 2 damage, you might be able to roll bouncer into bouncer and just get 2 free calls that way because you don't mind too much about losing the counter blast because they're going to give you more anyway. So
That's
you have
true.
a lot of comeback mechanics and spikes now.
All right, and round 5 is where you meet our boy Keith, right?
Yep. Face the mirror. And the mirror is scary, like legitly scary. It's quick, but it's scary because it's all about who has the better tempo throughout the game. And that means your 2 most important cards in the matchup are Spike Bouncer and General Safe Read if you go first. And unfortunately for our boy Keith here, he had Spike Bouncer, but he never had the General Safe Read.
It was so sad. I was just like, I'm going first. I'm gonna do some good damage, and it was just like Juggernaut Maximum. Am I right?
Juggernaut,
so sad.
Juggernaut Maximum.
And then
Juggernaut Maximum.
Like Maximum when you go first is such a blow. It just hurts so bad because you lose so much pressure from not having that restanding chance that when I go into my Agrius turn, I have those guaranteed attacks coming up to take advantage of the lack of pressure. And I was able to deplete his hand down decently enough. I remember game 1, I just attacked rear guards with extreme prejudice. Like nothing was going to live a turn after it was on the board because I didn't want free Bracky calls. I didn't want Wonder Boy doing his thing unless he was in the back row because I couldn't touch it. Anything that stayed on the front row, I took it out as fast as I could, especially because I knew I was on the back foot going into any safe read shenanigans. So I was able to stride Agrius and pressure him down. He G-guarded, I believe, into his own Agrius, and I was deathly afraid of critical triggers that entire sequence because I was at 2 damage, and he had like a Bracky and like a Panther or a Juggernaut on the other side, which meant that I had to somehow find a way to protect my own self to where if he hit a critical trigger, I was okay. And knowing he had 8 crit, I was just waiting for the double crit action to happen. But it, unfortunately for Keith, it didn't happen that way. So I took like 1 or 2 damage and lived and went into Picaro or second Agrius and took the game 1. And then game 2 was a lot of the same to where he had Spike Bouncer but missed on General Safe Read again. So he had Juggernaut Maximum again. And it was kind of just played out very similarly to the first game to where Agrius into Picaro set up with mecha instructors claimed the game that way.
Yeah, every time I was just like in proof and I was playing and I was on my Agrius and I was just like, I put crits in this deck for this exact reason. Just to try to finish the game right here. And every time my deck is just like, nah, you get Juggernaut. Nah, you don't get any crits. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's cool.
You were supposed to check yellow card. That was the agreement we came to. Keith, you're going to play spikes and you're going to check yellow cards and you're going to do green.
Nah. The deck just knew who the real Spikes player was.
It's like, this man is European. This is the wrong football this man is playing right now. Get him out of here. So.
Come back when you have rugby.clan.
Yeah.
So even though I took it 2-0, it very easily could have flipped and it could have been 0-2 in Keith's favor. So it's a scary matchup, the mirror is.
I mean, hey, any mirror is going to be 50-50 anyway, right?
It's true.
That's just the way things go.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us to round 6 now, which is where I faced off with Kevin. And game 1, I horribly misplayed. I wish I had that one back. So I went first, knowing what he played. I rolled grade 1 standard stuff. He rolled his grade 1. I went to grade 2. And then on his grade 2 turn, I gave him a damage. So he did the superior ride. And me blanking, I didn't realize he did the superior ride. So I rolled to grade 3, but didn't stride. I just did a normal safe read thing. It just didn't click until he G-guarded my Vanguard swing. I was like, hold on, he can do that? Oh, shit, he's on grade 3. So I was like, well, this is very well going downhill from here. And that's exactly what it did. He was able to, like Ainge being a stupid grade 3, incredibly strong card. He was just able to get all the advantage back, got like 4 cards into his hand, and then survived my first Agrius turn, which should have been second Agrius by this time. And then he did the Ainge GB3, called out 3 of the blue hair girl that gets power when it's called through a skill, and then bopped me over the head with what's her face, the restander. It was ugly from that misplay on. And then game 2, I went first again. He didn't superior ride, but I just didn't have the aggression. Like my card just didn't come to me in that fashion to where I was able to overcome the advantage that Ainge was able to give him. So I ended up losing that one in very swift fashion. And then that's where I started to get nervous because I was like, oh man, like I hear rumblings that X2s are going to make it, but like it was my first loss. I was like, but I got tiebreakers. I'm starting to just put all these thoughts in my head being like, am I going to miss it if I lose? And because I have a very bad curse, like I would, like 4 or 5 big tournaments in a row, I always lost the win and end game to make it in top cut. So I was in the back of my mind, I was just afraid that it was going to happen again. So I tried to ground myself to be like, no, don't worry about it. Just play your game, do what you need to do, and then you're going to get in there. And I was kind of just told it to myself going into round 7, which was the last round of Swiss, which was against a normal OTT deck, which played Itchy Tom. And I was kind of relieved to see a non-Geese OTT, ironically. I
can't believe I waited all this time to see Ichitam.
It's a great matchup for Spikes.
Yeah, it's like what you expect to see coming into it, and you don't see it at all till the very last round. I was just afraid of not playing it well to where I could blow up. If I remember correctly. Actually, I can't remember much about game 1. I think I took it with Agrius being a badass pretty much and just normal standard Agrius things by this time. It went double Agrius, I think, but I was able to survive his swing back turn and then win on that, the follow-up sequence from there. But then game 2 was close. It came down to the fact that I had a Picaro turn set up, and the MVP of the tournament, in my opinion, Treasured Black Panther, aka Chitala, aka Wakanda. So I had 2 of them in my hand when I went into Picaro, and I had double force markers out. So if you put Panther on a force marker and do the Soul Blast for plus 15, it attacks for 35, then it goes to the Soul afterwards. So if you do that twice, you just put max pressure on your opponent and then go into a Picaro sequence. I set up like some weird, funky combination of like a Juggernaut with a Mecha Instructor, and then I tucked the Spike Bouncer in the back in case he didn't hit a trigger and he went to 5. I was going to go into call out another unit and try to get more attacks off that way and just put max pressure on his hand. And somehow, some way, he didn't have the cards, and I claimed it in that second game thanks to Instructor being the boy. So,
Instructor.
Yeah, all right, go Instructor. So I finished Swiss 6-1, and the funny part is that I had the highest win percentage. It was like 73% win percentage or something crazy like that. So that was kind of cool. Because minus the Kagero game and the loss to Kevin, every other win was 2-0 coming through Swiss. It was kind of clean.
Very nice. You can't put a price on that. Hey, at least you get to like go to the bathroom, get something to eat after your rounds. You're not sitting here like me going to time
every single match.
That had to hurt.
It wasn't that bad for me. And we can let's talk about your top 16 run. Keith, why don't you lead us away on this?
Wait,
so both of you had to wake up early.
Yeah.
So Keith, you lead this segment.
All right, sounds good. So, just as a quick thing, I also went 6-1 in Swiss. My one loss was to Proof, and then the top 16 day we had to be there at like 8 a.m. I want to say, or something like that.
Morning.
Yeah.
And then did the deck list checks, all the good stuff. Make sure that you didn't have any wrong cards, bad ratios, something like that. You don't want to get an easy game loss. That really sucks. But I ended up playing in my top 16 round OTT, but it was the Ichitan version, not the Gize version, just the straight. Oh yeah, that's the busted interaction in Premium. That's that deck. And then Jason, I think you were on Royals, was it, or Kagero in 16?
Kagero first round, top 16.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, so my top 16 round, he just blew me out game 1 from just checking too many heals. My tempo was gone. Game 2, Agrius did Agrius things because once you get him down to 0 cards, I can still G-guard at that point. So there you go. Pretty good. And then game 3 was a really tight game that I was playing, and we're just going back and forth, and I get him down again using Agrius to barely any cards in hand. And it goes back to my turn, and I'm like, I can kill him on the second Agrius. But I, for whatever reason, forget to stride. It just like, it blanks in my brain. I'm like, just like the pressure of the moment got to me, and I just blanked. And then I was like, oh shit. And then I tried to take it back, but the guy was like, you already went. I think I called a Black Panther or something like that to the field. And so then I just had to do good old Seafried turn, which was still a great turn because it's Seafried and I got to do the stuff. But instead of just outright killing him, which I did on Agrius, I reduced him to like 1 card in hand, I think, and he had to top deck the Stride Fodder, and he didn't get there. And so he just did like the normal, what's the name of the grade 3? Imperial Daughter. He had Imperial Daughter and 2 Toms on the field. But like I had 2 heals and like a draw PG in hand, so it was like, okay, fine, guard. And it was like, it felt so good to be facing Itchy Tom with spikes and actually being able to guard like attacks that were coming at me, because usually I was just like, no guard. That's fine. None of my cards are working for me right now, so no guard. And so then it just came back to me, and then I was like, all right, time to go into Agrius, and then I just beat the guy. So I took that one 2-1, and then Proof, I don't know if you want to talk about your top 16.
Man, this game was something. So it was facing Kaguro. He was playing double force guys, so Waterfall and Overlord. Game 1 was just standard Agrius stuff, doing his thing. Game 2, I got completely waxed out because he went first, he rode Overlord, called a Dragonic Gaius behind it, did the Soul Blast, so Overlord was 33, and I just had to take it. Because I think I had a G assist for a grade 1 that game, so I was already behind the 8 ball, and it was just ugly. So this is why I got nervous. I was like, oh man, like, I made it here finally. I'm happy, but I don't want to lose round 1. I want to at least get into the money. And then game 3 was crazy. So I had the G assist for grade 3 going first, and I was like, I don't want to wait behind. Or no, I had G assist for a 1. Or 1 or a 3. Either way, I had a G assist, and I got to save free, did his thing. He rode to grade 3. I can't remember which one it was, but he couldn't stride because he didn't have the pieces in his hand. So I was like, oh crap, I have a chance to fight back here, like trying to make up the lost advantage from G assisting. So he did his turn. I had to use up my hand to protect myself for some odd reason. And I went into Agrius, and I was down to my last 3 cards. I drew into Juggernaut Maximum. So I called out Maximum, and then like I think a Panther and an AK behind it. And he had 4 cards in his hand, and I had to make a read on his hand if I wanted to play into Denial Griffin or dance around it. And I wagered it, and I was like, if he has the Griffin, do I lose? And I was like, if he has it, he has it. But if he doesn't have it, I get to put most pressure on him. So I was like, I don't think he has it. So I went rear guards first, and then resolved Agrius to bind all 3 and draw. Because if you're not familiar with Agrius, if you don't bind 3 cards, you can't draw and you can't call back anything. If you don't bind at least 3 cards. So I had to make a wager on his hand. I came out coming correct, and I pushed him to 4 damage. On his next turn, he heals back to 3, and now he has a guaranteed G-Guard in his hand that I knew about. So I was like, oh man, like he just wanted tempo back. It's a snack wrap here. So I go into my turn. I couldn't stride because I just didn't get the pieces on the Agrius turn, and I had to go into generic safe freeze stuff, which is fine. It's just that I would rather try to get the card and do another Agrius turn. So I resolved Juggernaut, call out a fresh one, put a card back with Wonder Boy. I put the heal back because I'm like, okay, if I get the heal, I'll go back to 2. I'll be able to tank Waterfall. I'll be fine. But then I look at my drops and I'm like, maybe should I put the crit back when I'm like getting ready to do my drive checks? So I swing with 1 rear guard, swing with Vanguard. He G-guards my Vanguard swing with Absolution. And I checked double crits on the fresh Juggernaut Maximum that I called out through General Safe Read. And that's where that 5th critical trigger came into play because the first one I checked was that one of Spike Sonic Breaker that I added to the deck the night before. So I was like, my boy, you are you coming through. So my Juggernaut Maximum was swinging for 53 with 3 crit, and he just had to take the 3 damage, and that was the game. And I was like, oh my gosh. And we shook hands, and I texted my wife and then went to the bathroom, and I was so happy that I made it.
That's what people do when they win their rounds. Text the wives, go to the bathroom, try to think about the next round.
I'm pretty sure I went to the bathroom after every round because I had so much nervous energy going on that I was like, I just need to walk away for a bit.
I'm the same way. That's me every time. Proof and Ryan going to the bathroom every round.
Post round jitters.
Does this man have a problem? Like, do we?
Ladder check.
Yeah.
So that brings us to top 8. I don't know if Kiefer, do you want to go first?
All right, sure, yeah, because this is sadly where my run ends in ARG Nationals. Is I end up playing the OTT Gizeh player that Proof plays in the final, and spoiler alert, I did not end up winning this match. I end up going first in game 1, and this man just checks like a god. Like he doesn't need the scry. He gets double drive checks with triggers, double damage checks with triggers as like his first 4 cards, and I'm just like, cool, that's fine. Never mind. I didn't want to play Vanguard anyways. That was all right, you know. And so like he immediately just rides to grade 3, Gizehs me, and I'm just like, okay. So there's that, and yeah, just scoop him up. Let's play game 2, and that's exactly how it went pretty much. And then game 2. His luck wasn't as absurd as game 1, but he was still like really accelerating into Gizeh. And I just like wasn't able to get the heals that I needed to like turbo into Hellhard. And so he just took it from me. It was actually a pretty quick, I would say only maybe like 20 minutes, because the first game just like was a non-game. It just didn't happen. And then game 2, I just wasn't able to get the cards I needed to like try to close it out from him. That's where I really felt like my deck was inferior to Proof's, was on stuff like the Gizeh plays, was just the crits were great, but like he could just heal out if he needed to with like Wakarihime and stuff like that. And if I didn't like just like triple crit him or something like that, it just wasn't there. And having the instructor would have made a big difference. Just been able to keep pounding at him with like big attacks. So that's kind of, I went the sad 0-2 and got to leave with a nice $250 cash in my pocket and a nice mat. And said some good lucks to Proof and headed off for a long ass journey home. Did not get into it getting back to like midnight.
I know that drive. I know that drive very well.
Oh yeah. Well, Proof, you had the distinct pleasure of continuing to play Vanguard much longer than any of us would have cared to. So please, regale us with the tale of top 4.
Top 4 or top 8?
Top 8.
Top 8.
So top 8 was against the Royals player who I played in round 5. We met up again, or no, round 4. And I had the honor of choosing order, and I chose, and I went first because I couldn't remember how the order went in the Swiss rounds. So I figured I just get the momentum on them, do what spikes do, and them getting the first try was actually detrimental to me, even though Safe Read is still a very powerful play. Just being able to get the quad drive with Gansalot, with Blaster Blade being largely guaranteed, was definitely huge. So I got bopped over the head very, very swiftly in round 1. And then rounds 2 and 3 went very much the same way, in that I had a good opener, but he missed on his grade 3 and had to V assist, G assist, whatever you want to call it, for his Alfred. And the first time he landed the Alfred, did Gansalot stuff, but I had the G guard, I believe, and then went into a full Agrius turn after his G assist. So that was a game for me. And then in the 3rd round, he was aggressive early, hit me. I hit a double draw trigger, draw 2 cards, went into Spike Bouncer, did his skill. Top 2 cards were 2 more Spike Bouncers, called 1, resolved that Spike Bouncer, and then had the momentum back in my favor. And then he whiffed. Then he had the G assist again. He got the Alfred, but he didn't ride it immediately because he didn't want me to stride with his hand being low. So I just did a I just did safe read things, and then he went into his turn, and then it was kind of over from there. I was too far ahead by that time. My hand was large, and his attacks just weren't enough to surpass what my hand was. So I got fortunate there that he got low rolled, but it kind of is the nature of the game sometimes, is your deck just doesn't give you what you need on time. So I got it 2-1 in that case and advanced on to top 4.
All right, and let's talk about the meat and potatoes of the tournament. Now let's get through these real
Quickly.
quick. Tell me about your top 4 match.
Top 4 match was against Mega Colony. Round 1, I got bopped by Zoa Antlion. I was 10k short of guarding it because I had 2 G-Guards and a Mecha Instructor in my hand, and the biggest I could get was 93,000, so not quite.
So sad.
These game ones were just not going in your favor.
No, so thankfully, bless the Lord for best of 3.
Yeah.
Actually, I think, did I lose every round 1? Nah, who cares? Round 2, I cannot for the life of me remember what round 2 was. I have no recollection of how round 2 went. I can't tell you how I won that game. I was aggressive, I believe, and then somehow claimed it through Agrius doing things. Honestly, I can't tell you. So that game is gone from memory.
That's when you come back with like your shirt's covered in blood, and you're like, "Don't worry, it wasn't mine," but I have no idea what happened.
It must be like just a total out-of-body experience and tunnel vision through the game or something. But then game 3, I furiously dug through my deck as fast as I could to try to get heals in my hand because I opened with 1 in my hand. And I was like, all right, second stride Hellheart 8 is the plan that we're going to go with. And so I think I used 3 Gary Gannons over the course of the next 2 turns and dug through like 8 cards in my deck to get through to the heals as fast as I could. I checked 1 and got really sad. But I ended up finding the 3rd piece on Agrius, I believe. And he went into Overwhelm when I had 3 units on board. He called Antlion. He checked a double crit, and then he had Phantom Black behind it and discarded 3 cards for the full Antlion Phantom Black combo. But he didn't know I had the G guards. I triple G guard into double 4-circle Hellheart 8, and I claimed the game.
Surprise!
I was like, I see you, deck. I was a madman. I was like, Spike Bouncer, get Ganon, Bracky, go, dig.
It's like it's 2017 all over again.
Exactly.
Oh,
So that brings us to the finals. And if you guys aren't aware, I did a whole matchup breakdown on my channel. So I'm gonna be much more brief in this outlet. Game 1, we talked about it. I misplayed by splitting up my force markers because I was kind of scared when he hit that heal to go back to 2. I thought I didn't have enough time to double up the 4 circles and try to get to Hellheart 8 again. Game 2 was where I did the Black Panther with the triple force marker shenanigan stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of scary as well because it was funny because the people watching thought that I had lost that game because of how furiously he was getting the triggers to activate Geese. And he was on Geese by the time I did this play. And it was my very last turn, so I just made the best of it. And I had a Wonder Boy boosting another Panther on the left side. And that's when I saw, like, hey, I could Soul Blast here, do a full power Panther, put that Panther to Soul, and then I have another Panther that can use that Soul later. And since he was afraid of the other Panther, he wanted to pass my Vanguard with Geese, and I double crit through it when he was at 5. So I was able to take game 2. That was also the unfortunate misplay on camera with the Wonder Boy putting Wonder Boy back that I just blanked on. So I was like, it's my last turn anyway, so just put something back and keep it moving because I was ready to get on to the next game if I lost or not or won or what have you. So I apologize for that. It was definitely unintentional. I wouldn't do that purposefully. And then game 3 was the legend of the double 4-circle Hellheart 8 turn. And that was a whole lot of fear. He didn't see me draw he didn't see the heal that I checked. I can't talk. He didn't see the heal off of the Agrius, so he didn't think to play around it when he went into his the the on hit girl, like Alma something something, the on hit dig for 2 soul counter charge 1 card. So when I had 5 G units up, he attacked into my rear guard. I went into Linus and flipped up, so that put me to 7 while protecting my Panther that was on board, and that enabled Hellheart 8 on that double force circle. And then the whole sequence played out. He checked the heal at 5. I got really scared because my hand was like 6 cards or something like that for the rest of the turn. And just Juggernaut being 53 on a double force circle with Hellheart 8, with Panther being 55, it just added up really quickly and overcame it.
And you did it, and that was the whole game.
That was
the whole tournament.
The whole kibosh.
Living Proof wins Evo 2018.
Put on my furry hat and just like spread.
Yeah. Mr. Sonic Fox, here is your fur hood. I held this for you the whole match. We can talk about that some other time. But yeah, you did it. We got to see 2 things. Show everyone the trophy again for those who haven't been here.
Yeah.
If you're just now getting here, if you can see it, if you can read the words. Champion.
And can we also see your dog? Chad is asking for dog.
I don't think he's up here at the moment.
We'll have to call for...
He might come. We'll see if we can catch him before we sign off.
All right.
Sounds good. And now for the segment. You don't need to hear about Andrew and I's tournament. It was bad.
No, not at all.
I played Royals. It was too simple of a meta call. I, like a fourth of the field, thought this would be enough to fight OTT, and everyone was like, "No, we're thinking 2. We're thinking 3 steps ahead. Forget you, Ryan. Forget you. You're going home." I'm like, "Oh, so I am." I went 3-3-1. My first, I played Ichitan, which I won, and I was happy about that. And then I played against OTT Gize and died. And then I played against G Robos, which was
very odd.
I'm like, okay, I'll take this. Played against Mega Colony Gize, which was also scary. But then I tied that game, and then it was just like, a loss here, a win there. The rest of the tournament doesn't matter. Andrew 0-2 dropped and went to the circus. And
yeah, like we were driving into the Expo Center. I see the Cirque du Soleil big top tent set up, like five minutes down. Ooh, cute doggo. and then it was all over. It was all over. I was like, I couldn't concentrate at all. We already won. We already top 4'd and gotten money or got store credit in the team tournament. And I was like, I don't care about this anymore. I'm gonna go see the circus.
Approve, say stuff so you're on camera.
Hey guys, this is my dog Atlas. He's a Chihuahua Beagle mix.
Oh,
that's pretty cute.
Totes adorbs.
Totes adorbs. He's shy. He doesn't like to pop up onto my lap at all. Look at you. See yourself? So he's gonna chill the rest of the podcast up here with me because he won't move from now that I got him.
All right, so for my last segment here as captain for the week, let's talk about overall premium impressions. We went into this tournament thinking that we knew stuff, and we were all clearly very wrong. So, Andrew, let's start with you, as we've had very little reason to talk to you today, unfortunately.
Hey, gotta go to the circus.
Right.
My impressions is that it's not necessarily a wide open format. You really have to know what you're doing to go into premium. But surprisingly, a lot of decks are viable, especially if you play them. And there's a lot of really unintuitive combos. We were all anticipating that, it's going to be Ichitam all the way. Like, everyone's going to be playing unblockable combo. Turns out it's a lot slower than we all thought it was going to be. So a lot of decks took advantage of how slow Ichitam is and how limited pressure they could put on early and the sort of cards they could hoard in hand. And so I think the meta, surprisingly, is a lot more balanced than we gave it credit for. Because as it stands right now, like, it's not all Ichitam. Like, there were 2 Ichitams, there were 2 OTT Chizes, there were 2 Kageros that made it somehow, 2 Spike players in tops, a bunch of other random decks. So I think it's a really surprisingly healthy meta right now. I don't know if Bushiroad planned it this way, but I think they'd definitely be celebrating it.
I could just go ahead and tell you, no, they didn't plan it that way.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Here's the master plan. We're going to create an unblockable combo that can be executed by almost anyone. $20. And then we're going to release this into the wild and let a healthy meta develop around it by players being creative enough to either find ways to respond with their favorite clan or finding faster or more consistent ways around this thing. Yeah, you think Bushiroad thought that far ahead? Because I don't think so. No.
Hey, there must be a reason why they banned, like, they limited Laurel to 1, but they didn't touch Ichicham, even though they knew it was designed at the same time.
Mm-hmm. They have weird priorities.
They must have some sort of play testing.
They knew it was so slow that the faster things could overcome it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's just, again, the one summer intern that's furiously playing against himself with the cards. He's like, I don't know.
Ichicham's not actually that strong.
Yeah.
He knows everything. He's the only lab they have.
The one Bushiroad summer intern.
All right, yeah. I've my impressions were, I mean, there were a lot of decks there. Just looking around and seeing what kind of crazy stuff people came up with for this, the biggest premium tournament in America for the year, most likely. That isn't Bushiroad Regionals at best of 1. So I'll say this is probably the most competitive tournament of the year in America. And we saw just all kinds of crazy, like, look at this 7-attack Tashikaze combo I can do. Maybe it'll take me all the way. It didn't, but it was cool, you know. A lot of people thought Royals was going to be the hotness, and it just wasn't. Because it, too, has its own problems that you can only tech so much and have consistent wins against the threat that was Gize. I mean, he just... ARG knew something that we didn't because it was on their mat. They're like, this is going to be something. Let me tell you. ARG got that right. They knew way ahead of time that Gize was going to be like the threat.
My impression of Premium is Gize decks are legit, so watch out for those. Anything that has standard support, currently watch out for those for sure, because the triggers and the higher shield value is just such a huge advantage to have going into these premium tournaments that you can't not play them in some capacity if your deck has premium or standard support. And I expect to see more people trying out spikes, which might influence more things that help against that particular matchup, like the Kageros, and maybe you might see a Chaos pop up some more, even though there was one this weekend. Chaos is a terrible matchup, kind of sort of for spikes, as long as we can get the aggression going. And Mega Colony is a threat because they have like 3 different avenues that they can go down, and you can't really tell which way they're going until they start to go down that path. I've seen aggressive Mega Colony, then there's machine in lockdown stuff, and it's all scary. Antlion Zoa combo is scary. So I think the decks that I expect to see more often is definitely going to be OTT Geese, because that deck is very strong. And I expect to see more Mega Colony stuff starting to pop up as well.
I definitely agree. Those are some of the most threatening decks in the format right now. Mega Colony in Standard, maybe not. But Mega Colony Premium, scary as well.
Yeah. You look at that top 4 ARG. That's what you expect to see.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so we're getting some questions in the chat. Let's move on to our hashtag Ask Absolution / Ask Proof segment here. We've got some great questions from the audience. And our first one is from our friend Spartan. Hashtag Ask Absolution. What anti-meta decks would work for Premium? No, Spartan, Sweep Command is not viable.
Chaos.
But if you're, yes, that is the absolute first suggestion I was going to say. Chaos is probably your best bet there. Great matchup into Gize. Solid matchups into a lot of other things. Just, I mean, it's about as anti-meta a deck as you can get, because if you queue into the wrong thing, you'll die. But if you queue in the right things, you're happy. Very happy.
But you know what the real spicy anti-meta is? Is Glendios. You go into Gize, they turn into Gize, and you lock all 5 of their Zeros.
Gross.
Can't do anything.
I can't even imagine what that Chaos player must have felt like when he saw all the Gize in the field. He was just like, oh my god, it's my time.
And then he just queued to nothing but OTT, Tom, Bermuda Triangle.
all the horrible matchups.
Yeah, no kidding. Got that Braxton bracket right there. Oh, man. All right. Next up, hashtag Absolution. What is your suggestions for dealing with the OTT Gize matchup? And Proof, I'll throw this to you. You had to play the most of it.
If you're not playing spikes with the Hellheart 8 combo, which is definitely a way to get around Gize, you need to try to have some type of aggressive strategy to where you can stay on top of them and be able to work with no damage, because they're definitely not going to give you counterblast or one counterblast to work with. You need to try to make it as big of an advantage with that 0 to 1 counterblast that you can. So if you're a very fast deck that can beat them before they get to Geese, you have a good chance there. Or if you have some incredibly stupid in-game options such as Hellhard 8, then that can be your outlet there. But there's no in between. If your deck plays very even, you're going to have a tough time against Geese, because they can just stall you out and then get to a 30k base, and then you've lost from there.
Yeah, basically from what we saw, it really depends on what kind of deck you play. So, for example, I played Royal Paladins, and what you do for that is take no damage, just sit there and min guard, because their trigger power doesn't matter. So don't overguard Gize ever, because you just don't need to. Conserve your hand. Get enough strides and find something that you can go into Ultima and try and kill them with, super crits and Flogel combos, Blaster Blades. So take your time, build up force markers for the Blaster Blade, make sure you have all your pieces, and then attempt to combo them out of the game as soon as they go into Gize and deal you 5 damage, because you need all the counterblast that you can get. So that's... But if you play OTT, for example, you probably don't want to do that. So, Andrew, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
So if you play OTT Ichitam into OTT Gize, your ideal setup is that Gize runs draw PGs, because they want as many draws as possible. So they're running the draw perfect guards, which means that Tom is unblockable. So your end goal is to push as much damage as possible with as much aggression as possible, because they're going to snipe your rear guards, but you don't need damage for really any of your effects, except for like if you ride Imperial Daughter or whatever. And so in theory, what you want to do is you try to keep rewriting, get protect gifts, keep rewriting, get protect gifts, try to accelerate into one of your Deers and get a double Tom turned down. Because if you double crit on an Ichikishima and just shove it all on a Tom, that's 3 unguardable damage that they have to take. So I think banking on the all-in for your Ichitam is one of the best ways you're going to beat Gize. Because once they hit that 30k, there's not much you can really do besides die the next turn.
It's true. That taking that 5, like, that's why I tried to stay at 0 damage the whole game, except for that last game or game 2 where I had to take the 1 because my hand was so low. But generally, I try to stay at 0 damage and then take the 5 when they get to Geese and see what I could do after that. So use that 2-turn buffer you have to make the most of it.
Well said. And one last question for us here from our boy Franz. Hashtag Ask Absolution, favorite moments from the event. Keith, I'll start with you.
I think probably it was kind of a recurring moment that just kept happening to me. Was I played
winning games of Vanguard?
Yeah, just winning all the time. That was so good. Yeah. No, it was... I played so many Royals in that tournament, and this wasn't just the Royals players, but I had so many people come up afterwards to me just being like, your deck is dumb. I'm picking up spikes later. I was like, awesome. Good to hear, friend. That is great. And it was just like, people would be like, oh yeah, I really wish I just ran the spikes for this tournament, because that was silly what you did to me. And I'm like, cool. That is great. So that was probably one of my favorite moments out of that tournament. I mean, of course, I think my actual favorite was seeing everyone and all the boys getting some good Philly cheesesteaks. All the good times. But yeah, I think the actual in-tournament thing was that. All the people coming up and being like, yo, I'm building spikes after this. Here we go. So,
Andrew, favorite moment.
Right.
Can't say Cirque du Soleil.
Dang it! Let me take a quick sidetrack. Yeah, there are people saying in the chat that, yeah, OTGC has Protect. Yeah, they have Protect, but they only get so many Protects in theory, because if they have 3 Protects in hand before they go into Giza, you've done something wrong. So that shouldn't be happening. Anyways, my favorite part of the trip as a whole, probably after teams. I don't know if you uploaded this video yet, but we got a gift card and we're like, what do we do with this? And we just went and bought 3 boxes of Destructive Roar. We had a little mini competition between the 3 of us. Be like, who can pull the most value out of these boxes? And I lost miserably.
That's very sad. But hey, nothing like opening some boxes. We'll be posting that video soon. Yes, we actually recorded some content for you guys. Rejoice. Team Absolution has returned. Please smash that subscribe button. We're begging you. I'm not begging.
That was fun. Oh, there was a. My second favorite was not realizing who Franz was, and he was coming up to me like, "Oh, do you have like the OTT stuff?" I'm like, "It's spoken for somebody else." He was like, "Okay."
Rip Franz.
Proof. Favorite moment of the tournament.
So, my favorite in tournament moment was winning. Obviously, like just seeing, like just getting the Hellheart 8 chain going off to near perfection, like definitely made me really hype. And then watching it work and hitting over Giza's fat body, it made me feel good just seeing, even though like that's not the deck's main win condition anymore, it's nice seeing that like your whole deck played a collaborative effort to get you the victory. So like every piece mattered at some point during the tournament to build up to this final moment. So like the accumulation of all the efforts of your whole deck construction process coming together. So that was really nice. And then looking over and seeing my wife there out the cut when the game was over. And my favorite out of tournament moment was when Keith asked Tiss who he was. Tiss, we were trying to figure out who he was because we don't know what he looked like coming into the event. And Keith just asked a random person, like, "Hey, are you Tiss?" And this person looked Keith straight into his soul and said no. And then 2 minutes later, he circled back around, handed me the black force markers that Tiss was supposed to give to me. And he was like, "Here you go. Nice to meet you, man." And I was like, "What? Like a minute ago, you were over here saying you weren't him," because I was watching the whole thing happen. And I was so confused. I was so shook that I don't know what was going on.
That was I have never been so thrown off. I was just like, I had an idea of what Tiss looked like, just because I think it was like Franz or something, like informed me a little bit. And I like walk up to this dude so confidently, just like, "Hey, are you Tiss?" And he's just like point blank in the face, "No." And I was like, my whole life has been destroyed. Like I didn't know what happened.
He was so
like, I sat back down.
I saw the air come out of his balloon and everything.
Like,
It was great.
Was. I already lost the tournament before it even began. Like it was over for me.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
My other favorite moment was just talking to people and people that recognize me from doing the stuff on my channel. It was funny playing Ralph, who I played in round 7, who Keith played in the top 16. We played him, or I played him, and then my G-Zone has custom sleeves that has my emblem on it, and he like looked at the sleeves but didn't click that I was who I was till like halfway through the second game, and like at the end of the game he was like, "You're living proof, aren't you?" He was like, "Yeah, like how you doing, man?" He's like, "I looked at your sleeves, I knew it was you, I could recognize the voice." I was like, "Okay, that's what's up, man." And he was just so incredibly hype about it, and it was just kind of cool, like seeing the light bulb moment when people like, "Hey, are you who you are?" Like, "Yeah, that's me." So I just like meeting the new people at the tournaments. That's why I like going to these things. And of course, I enjoy doing well at these because I don't want to go there to lose, because spend money on a hotel, you want to do well.
Definitely nice to make your money back.
Mm-hmm. Although it seems like you have a trend of just randomly losing to Bermuda Triangle at Nationals.
Hey man, why you gotta bring that back up? I thought we buried that.
We did bury it. I'm bringing it back up again.
I thought we were boys.
It's just like, "Oh no, yeah, you got a tragic past. Let me bring that up for you."
I need my run back game.
You made your salty run back this time, so no problem.
In a big way. Let's see. My favorite moment of the tournament, I love meeting the people, I love trading with the people. In game, it was probably just like learning how to fight Gize and seeing like what kind of crazy stuff people come up with. It was a brand new experience for me. I always come in with, I always make the mistake every single time of like, "Oh, new tournament, new deck. Who dis?" So here I am trying to not only learn blasters, but also learn the entire field all at the same time, and just don't do that. Just like when I saw 2 Kagros in top 16, I'm like, that could have been me. I could have just played Kagro. I could have been a contender. He could have been somebody again at Nats. But no, here I am playing Jose's badly built blasters deck, trying to bring this together.
With the wrong Marins in it.
Absolutely middle of the pack for me.
Oh, dang.
That was me. But watching Keith make it all the way after breaking the Night Rose curse, dumping that by the road, coming back this year after a string of bad luck, after a bad states, and seeing Keith with his redemption making top 8, getting money in Nats. That was my favorite moment by far.
Great stuff.
Yay, thanks, Ryan.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of thanks to give out to everyone. I'd like to thank the Academy, my friends, my family, everyone. You know, couldn't have done it without all you guys.
All right. Well, Proof, is there anything else you'd like to say while you're on with us on Damage Check?
I just want to say thanks to ARG. It was a great tournament. It was very well ran, minus the round 1 fiasco with Franz and his name being misspelled and everything. So that delayed round 1 for like 20 minutes out of nowhere. But after that, it ran very smoothly. It was nice to be in Philly and eat nice Philly cheesesteaks. I'm glad that people got to meet my wife. So it was nice. That was fun and exciting. Yeah, it was just nice, like making new friends and meeting new people, getting them to talk to people that are fans of the channel and stuff like that. So I enjoy these things.
Yeah, well, definitely thanks for joining us. It was great to meet you in the flesh at long last and to meet the legend himself. So, well, this has been us at Team Absolution. Thank you for watching Damage Check. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check out Proof's channel in the description. And we'll see you next time here. This has been the ARG Nats Report with Team Absolution. Thanks so much for joining us. Peace.
Catch you around.